Deion Sanders' three-word cryptic post amid Sherrone Moore firing and detention scandal. Deion Sanders has never been a man who wastes words, never been someone who dresses up his feelings in flowery language or performs theatrics just for the sake of attention. His entire public life has been built on a combination of authenticity, charisma, and a unique flair that has remained unmistakably prime. So when the Colorado Buffaloes head coach opened his phone, logged onto X, and fired off a simple three-word reaction to the chaos unfolding around Sherrone Moore and the Michigan program, the entire college football world stopped to parse every syllable. Lord Jesus! Wow! 3 words, 2 exclamation marks, and a message that carried more weight than a paragraph could have. It was as if Sanders had taken the collective shock of the sport and condensed it into a single, breathless moment of disbelief. This was not just another headline drifting through the football ecosystem. This was the stunning, sudden, jarring downfall of a head coach who only months ago had been positioned as the next torchbearer of Michigan football. Sherrone Moore, once the rising star who seemed destined for a long and decorated future in Ann Arbor, was now removed from his job, detained by police, and thrust into a scandal that grew stranger with every passing hour. The university's announcement arrived quietly at first, in the crisp, careful language of institutional crisis management, but the fallout thundered across social media within minutes. According to Michigan, Moore was terminated with cause after investigators found what they described as credible evidence that he had engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. It was a violation of university policy, they said, a breach of trust, a line that could not be crossed. And just like that, a tenure that began with hope and momentum disintegrated into an abrupt and uncomfortable ending. But the university's prepared remarks left as many questions as answers. No details about the staff member, no timeline, no elaboration on what led investigators to their conclusion or how long the inquiry had been underway. The only clarity came from the decisive tone. Zero tolerance, immediate termination, no room for further interpretation. Into that vacuum of information stepped speculation, and into that speculation came Deion Sanders' brief, explosive reaction. It was not accusatory, not supportive, not even analytical. It was the raw, instinctive gasp of someone watching a colleague's world fall apart in real time. And because it was Sanders, because everything he says carries the weight of public fascination, fans immediately tried to decipher what he meant. Some responded with humor, others with sympathy, others with open recruitment pitches, hoping chaos in Ann Arbor might lead Coach Prime to consider greener pastures in the Midwest. That man need Jesus more than ever, one person joked, drawing a play on Moore's last name. Another called Sanders' post the unofficial signal that he was throwing his hat into the ring for the Michigan job. A third, more hopeful than realistic, simply pleaded, "Come to Michigan, coach." The college football internet does not rest, not even in the middle of a scandal, not even when careers are on the line. But the story did not stop at Moore's firing. It twisted again when news broke that Moore had been detained by police in Saline, Michigan. ESPN's Dan Wetzel reported that local authorities had helped locate and apprehend the former Michigan coach before transferring him to Pittsfield Township, where investigators would explore possible charges. The arrest, like everything else in this saga, arrived with more mystery than clarity. There was no confirmed link between the internal investigation that led to his firing and the circumstances surrounding his detention. The timing, however, only intensified public curiosity and concern. It was the kind of surreal, spiraling situation that leaves even seasoned insiders struggling to make sense of the sequence of events. Behind the scenes, the Michigan football program scrambled to maintain stability. With Moore out, Biff Poggi was appointed interim head coach, thrust into leadership under the most volatile circumstances imaginable. Staffers remained in place for now, but the winds of change were already blowing. A new permanent head coach would almost certainly reshape the structure, philosophies, and relationships inside the program. Everyone in the building understood that in college football, when the head coach falls, the ripples rarely stop at one office door. For Moore, the fall was swift, dramatic, and profoundly public. Just months earlier, he had been considered one of the bright young architects of Michigan's offensive identity, a talented recruiter, a respected leader, and a coach who had earned the trust of players and administrators alike. The belief was that he represented a seamless transition from past successes into a future of sustained national contention. Instead, his name was now tied to headlines involving investigations, policy violations, and a police detention that left fans stunned and searching for answers. The reality of college football's unforgiving spotlight came crashing down on him with extraordinary force. And into that moment stepped Deion Sanders with a reaction that felt less like commentary and more like a universally shared exhale. Sanders has built his coaching persona on accountability, discipline, and a public commitment to personal conduct. His program at Colorado, while known for its flash and entertainment value, has also been built on structure, expectations, and the demand that players and coaches carry themselves with integrity. When he saw the chaos surrounding Moore, he responded like someone who understands how fragile the job of a head coach can be and how quickly an entire program can be shaken by one misstep. His Lord Jesus, wow, was not ridicule. It was recognition of a storm that could swallow anyone ill-prepared for the pressure systems of modern college athletics. The ripple effects of Moore's downfall are only beginning to reveal themselves. Michigan must rebuild the trust of its players, reestablish its leadership hierarchy, and prepare for a future clouded by uncertainty. Administrators must answer the lingering questions about how long they knew, how they handled the investigation, and whether further consequences could follow. Fans must reconcile the abrupt collapse of a coach they had embraced with hope and optimism. And Moore himself faces a path forward that is riddled with legal, professional, and personal challenges that may take years to untangle. Meanwhile, Deion Sanders returns to Boulder, where his own program prepares for the relentless demands of another season. But his message, brief, explosive, and unforgettable, will stay tethered to the story as one of the defining reactions to a moment of stunning downfall. His post echoed the collective disbelief of a sport that has grown accustomed to surprises but still finds itself stunned when one of its rising coaching stars falls from grace with such speed and severity. College football exists in a constant tension between triumph and turmoil, between the heroes it elevates and the scandals that sometimes consume them. In this case, a coach once seen as a symbol of continuity and promise now faces a future shaped by investigations, administrative decisions, and potential legal battles. And in the background, Deion Sanders stands as a reminder that in this sport, no storyline unfolds without the watchful eyes of peers, fans, and rivals absorbing every twist. Ultimately, the emotional resonance of Sanders' cryptic post lies in its simplicity. It was not analysis. It was not judgment. It was the unfiltered reaction of someone who knows the weight of the headset, the fragility of leadership, and the shock of watching a colleague's career unravel in real time. It captured the moment. Unexpected, unbelievable, and deeply human. And sometimes, especially in a sport as chaotic and unpredictable as college football, 3 words are all it takes to tell the world everything it needs to know.